Good afternoon, colleagues.
Hi, Everton. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Okay.
Good.
Hello, good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Morning, Julia.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, it is now afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Welcome to our audience on Zoom and to our viewing audience on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. It's Monday, March 22nd, and we are joining the globe in celebrating World Water Day 2021. I am your moderator, Gillian Scott, Communications Analyst at the United Nations Development Program's Multi-Country Office in Jamaica. Water is life. Cliched, overused, but true. And to UNDP, water access is a critical part of what we do in fulfillment of our global mission to end the injustice of poverty, climate change, and inequality. We partner with hardworking communities across Jamaica seeking to improve the lives of our people. Access to water has been one of the key areas of support given by UNDP over the years. So today we place a spotlight on communities and groups that have been supported by the UNDP and the UN through our generous funding partners, the Japanese, Australian Aid, Human Security Trust Fund, and UNDP's Jeff Small Grants Program in harvesting rain and underground water. Today, we will hear how they did it, what it took, mistakes to avoid, the difference it made in the lives of our people. We will also hear from UNDP experts who will take us through the process while offering lessons learned. But before we introduce our panel, let's have a word from our leadership. First up is UNDP's resident representative, Denise E. Antonio. As UNDP resident representative, Denise has responsibility for UNDP's program jurisdiction in Jamaica, Belize, Bermuda, Cayman Islands, the Bahamas, and Turks and Caicos Islands. Prior to this appointment, Denise was Deputy Country Director Operations with UNDP in Angola, Zimbabwe, and Deputy Resident Representative in Ghana. Denise is a certified public accountant in New York State and a graduate of Business Administration in Accounting from Adelphi University. She's married and a mother of 5. And now it is our distinct honor to have Denise join us.
Good afternoon, everyone.
And we are going to ask her to start her video. And we're going to spotlight her. Thank you, Denise.
My video is on. Do you see me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. His Worship, the Mayor of Maypen, Councillor Winston Mirage, distinguished panelists and guests, good afternoon. I'm very delighted to celebrate World Water Day 2021 with you all as we renew our commitment to respect and sustain water as one of Earth's most critical resource for health, food, and life. The experts tell us that 70% of the world's, the Earth's surface is covered by water, and the ocean holds about 96% of all of this. So we know that we have water in abundance. But in many countries like Jamaica, especially in the rural areas, rural farmers have a problem with challenges with water because of climate change. And so as accessing portable water is a challenge. So can you imagine that only 63.9% of Jamaicans in the rural areas have access to an improved source of drinking water compared to 99% in the capital and 88% in urban areas. So farmers need water, of course, to feed the nation through their crops, and households and hospitals need water to sanitize and sustain health. And we all know that our bodies require water as a necessity for survival. Because of the lack of water, this causes inequality, growth, stagnation, disease, and poverty. That is why UNDP remains committed to supporting countries to harvest rain and underground water because its proven impact on other areas of the economic growth cycle. So through our Jeff Small Grants Program, our Japanese Caribbean Climate Change Partnership, and now the UN and the Government of Jamaica Human Security Joint Program, we are continuing to make contributions to closing the water inequality gap in Jamaica. Our internal evaluations of 9 projects dating from 2013 to 2019 indicates that through the Jeff Small grants and the JCCP, our water harvesting projects are still actively serving more than 135 persons in virtually every parish across the nation. Our strategic partnership with 128 communities around the country has helped expand water storage capacity by a combined modest 2.2 million gallons over 7 years. So we are encouraged by reports that these projects have continued to help to mitigate the impact of climate change by channeling potable waters into pipes and reversing downturns in crops harvest caused by droughts. We're especially gratified that access to potable water may prove helpful in supporting the local fight against the COVID-19 that we are experiencing in our communities today. And it has proven to be particularly successful in boosting crop harvests. UNDP has been a proud member of the United Nations group implementing the Human Security Joint Program to demonstrate how water access strengthens resilience to crisis. I can announce that through this project, we have established 20 on-farm water management systems collaboratively with farmers on their plots. We've rehabilitated water harvesting systems to provide portable waters to communities in Northern Clarendon, which lacks access to water from municipal sources. And we have been able to establish household and community level water treatment demonstration systems in communities and demonstration sanitation facilities in communities using recycled water. We are especially encouraged by many stories that we are sharing from our partners. For example, Ophelia Foster Scott, Mount Peto 4-H leader and guidance counselor said, and I quote, "Before we got this tank, we struggled to get water to the farm. We have had crops died and withered, but since we got this infrastructure, we have had water to sustain the entire farm. We were able to put in some fruits, pepper, melons, pumpkins, and then the pumpkins are sold to the school canteen, and the income is used to fund the breakfast feeding program." UNDP is honored to make a modest contribution to government's expanding program of efforts to expand water harvesting and access to underserved communities in Jamaica. So I applaud the policies and program leaps being made by government to this end, and as it will help Jamaica to secure Sustainable Development Goal 6, which is clean water and sanitation. It will also support SDG 1, which is no poverty, and SDG 2, which is zero hunger. One standout lesson learned for me is that the impact on health and sanitation, sustainable agriculture, sustainable livelihood, and local economies have largely been achieved in participation with the members of the community. Therefore, I believe more strategic and creative partnership with communities based on effective consultation can deepen the impact of these investments and ensure their sustainability. I would like to further recommend the scaling up linked yet underexplored initiatives such as exploiting the potential of medicinal plants and establishing aquaponic ventures to enhance alternative livelihood. UNDP is committed to supporting you in this journey and assures you that we remain your ally in securing your vision for a Jamaica that is a place to live, work, raise a family, and do business. Thank you very much and have a happy Water World Day.
Thank you so much, Denise, for that World Water Day message. Next up, we will be joined by His Worship, the Mayor of May Pen, Councillor Winston Mirage. And we're going to ask you, Mayor, if you could start your video and join us so that you can deliver your remarks.
Okay, thank you very much, Jillian. Thank you very much. Of course, I listened to Denise just now, and I have to applaud her. What she said to us is right up our alley, eh? So our country rep, Denise Antonio, members of the UNDP team, other reps of agencies, and if there are any community leaders and others online, good afternoon to you all. It's indeed a pleasure of mine to be participating in this today, marking World Water Day. As you know, the Clarendon Municipal Corporation is on a drive to implement strategies of our local sustainable development plan, which was launched back in 2017. Now, water harvesting continues to be one of the main strategies of our document, especially in northern Clarendon area. Because you know, in the hills, we have less water sources, or less large water sources, I should say. And so this aligns perfectly with my mandate as the mayor to bring water to as many communities as possible who are without the special commodity. We have a responsibility as a local authority to bring water to areas which are not serviced by the National Water Commission. As such, each month, we truck over 1,600 loads of water to residents in these areas. We all can understand that trucking this amount of water monthly can take a toll on the budget, given the decline in our property taxes as well during this COVID period. And of course, we do receive some amount of funding from time to time from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, which has the mandate for water and responsibility, and from our own parent ministry, the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. This is what has prompted us to vigorously seek partnerships to continue our drive to supply water to these areas. Most persons call me the water mayor because most of my discussions are around development.
Mayor, I don't know what is happening, but there appears to be a bandwidth issue. I don't know if you want to stop your video and continue your remarks. There's a bandwidth issue.
Sorry for that disconnection there. Seemed like I lost my internet for a while.
Okay.
Good, you're hearing me now.
Yes, we're back in business. Go ahead, Mayor.
Okay, good. Yes, I don't know. Somehow this thing keeps to go and come sometimes. Sorry about that. Yeah. So as I was saying, most persons call me the water mayor because most of my discussions are around developing strategies to improve water access to all. So far, we have been rehabilitating as well as constructing new water supply systems and catchment tanks in the parish. Presently, we are in the process of constructing one in Coxswain, a community in the north there, through the Rural Water Supply Limited. That's where we got the funding. And there's another one to be built in the upcoming financial year in the Lesterfield area, that's within the Frankfield division there as well. And I must say to tell you, And I'm also a board member of the Rural Water Supply Limited. So, you know, I have access there, you know, and I can turn some keys sometime. We have rehabilitated a tank at the Pipe Hill community, which was out of commission for over 30 to 40 years, the people here tell me, which now supplies the Thompsontown High School, the Thompsontown Primary School, as well as a number of householders in that community. And this tank is constantly being replenished from a nearby spring source, which before was always going to waste. We do have other areas of the parish, though, which we have been working and expanding our water supply system. So it's not only in the northern section that we're concentrating on. We have also been working on the southern section, which we expand the National Water Commission systems there as well, and into communities that did not previously have any water at all, like Salt River, Mitchelltown, and those communities on the south. And also we did recently a community called Brandon Hill up in the north, which didn't have any water before and has around 2,000 people. And we have put in a water supply system there with funding from the Rural Water Supply Limited as well as we did 2 catchment tanks at Dawkins in James Hill, and a community up in the north, where we got that funding from the Environmental Foundation of Jamaica. So we have been trying all areas to see how best that we can get water to our people. But you know, the partnerships with the UNDP have afforded us the opportunity over the years until today to rehabilitate a number of rainwater harvesting systems. And we are thankful to you guys. Through the joint program, Strengthening Human Resilience in Northern Clarendon and West Kingston, we received funding to rehabilitate 3 rainwater harvesting systems in some schools, but we went further to rehabilitate 4 instead. And this is how we try to stretch the dollar that we receive. And we have been doing that for a number of years now. So, because you know, we are aware of the need and the importance of water, more so now than ever, given the effects of COVID-19 on our community's health and safety measures. The schools that we have got assistance from you guys includes the Bunkers Hill Primary, the Alston Primary and Infant School, the Darlow Basic School, and the Andersontown Primary and Infant School. And you know, we are grateful to the UNDP for helping us to improve water access in Northern Clarendon through the Human Security Joint Program, the Jeff Special Grants Program, and the Japan Caribbean Climate Change Program. And we wish to also thank other entities with similar mandates, such as the Rural Water Supply Limited, the Environmental Foundation of Jamaica, among others, who have been integral in this process. And we have been partnering with everybody that we can get hold of to ensure that we leave no one behind, especially with the access to water. I thank you, and I look forward to participating further in this venture today.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for your contribution to our World Water Day event. We note that you have made a deliberate strategic effort to expand access to water in Clarendon, and we can confirm that your Water Mayor title is most fitting. Thank you so much. Now, before we go to our other presenters, we want to share a fun fact with you. And we ask that fact to be shared on the screen. And it speaks to the water inequality that persists, but that is improving. There are still gaps between urban and rural areas, but you can see a number of farming communities, especially, are still in need of access to water. And this fact is that in rural communities, according to the 2015 Survey of Living Conditions, 3.9% had access to an improved source of drinking water. We know that this has improved somewhat since 2015, but as you can see in the capital city, it is much higher at about 99.5%. So we acknowledge that there has been great work undergoing, but there's work to be done. Thank you so much for that fun fact, Nikisha. We're now going to go to our panel, and we are going to now be discussing some specific projects that have delivered water to a number of communities, especially rural communities across Jamaica. We're going to ask our panel to start their videos, in particular Derval McLean. But before we go there, we are going to first ask Elfa Brown and Hyacinth to start their videos. So, Derval. And we're going to now be sharing Hyacinth's, no, Elfa's PowerPoint. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. His Worship the Mayor, Councillor Winston Maraj, our own resident representative for the UNDP Multi-Country Office in Jamaica, fellow panelists, and our online participants. First of all, I don't know, I'm not, are you seeing my presentation on your screen? Oh, okay, fine. First of all, I'd just like to say a very big thanks to UNDP, and I'm kind of a stepchild of UNDP, for inviting the project management unit of the Human Security Project to participate in this really very important event on World Water Day, and to give us the opportunity just to say a little bit about what we are doing with reference to water. Next slide, please. And next. Right, now, if I could be just permitted to define, to give you a definition of the human security approach. And this will sort of segue into just how important water is to the whole human security approach. Now, the UN has defined the human security approach to development. It's an approach to assist member countries in identifying and addressing widespread and cross-cutting challenges to survival, livelihood, and dignity of their people. And at the heart of this whole human security approach are people. Next one. Now, water is an extremely important element in the human security approach because of its relevance to so many aspects of life, just to name a few: health, food and income security, and general environmental sustainability. Next. So I'm now going to go into the discussion, and I'm going to try to go very quickly because I know I don't have a lot of time, of the programs in Jamaica. Now, the UN, the United Nations, in collaboration with the government and community stakeholders, have actually implemented several programs and projects that address issues of human security, although maybe they are not called human security projects. For my presentation, I'm going to focus on two programs with a focus on water harvesting, and these are programs with which I am personally familiar, namely the Japan-Caribbean Climate Change Partnership and the project entitled Strengthening Human Resilience in Northern Clarendon and West Kingston, which is popularly referred to for short as the Human Security Project. Next. I am going to take a little time to talk about the collaboration because this is a very important part of the whole human security approach. It is people, and it is people working together towards the well-being of the vulnerable. The UNDP and the government, they have been integral to all of the initiatives that I'm going to discuss and others in partnership with community groups. The JCCP was implemented by UNDP Jamaica with funding from the government of Jamaica in collaboration with the Climate Change Division of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. The JCCP was concluded in 2019, And during its implementation, it built on experiences of partners, for example, the GEF Small Grants Program and the Jamaica 4-H Clubs, to name some of the key partners. The human security approach is currently under implementation by a joint United Nations team of UNDP, UN Environment, FAO, PAHO, and UN Women. And this is in collaboration with the government through the Ministry of Housing, Urban Renewal, Environment, and Climate Change. Again, this project builds on and expands on the experiences of the GEF Small Grants Program, the JCCP, and others, but most notably, the one key project that is considered one of the co-funding activities of the government is the pilot program for climate resilience, PPCR. And this is just among other such projects. Next. Now, both JCCP and the Human Security Project in our community consultations identified lack of water as key deterrents to the well-being of communities. And so the projects focused on water from two key perspectives, from the policy and side of policy enhancement and from the side of community engagement and empowerment. Next. Starting with the JCCP, from the policy side, through an extensive process of stakeholder consultation, training, et cetera, we established a nationally appropriate mitigation action for the water sector, or NAMA. And I'm not going to go into the details of what a NAMA is. It's very specific, as you can see at the bottom here. But it was an important sort of plan, taking all of the key partners in the water sector and looking at the way forward, actions to be taken to improve the system. Next. For the Human Security Project at the policy level, so far we have developed a monitoring framework for the national water sector policy. We've conducted a gender awareness beneficiary assessment, which looks at the challenges facing communities, the access of communities to water and across communities, with some very interesting results based on gender and based on socioeconomic profile of the communities. And we have an ongoing consultancy which is seeking to revise, in collaboration with the MEGJC, the draft industry-specific legislation for the water sector policy. And these policy initiatives are important because you need to have a supportive, enabling environment if you are going to move forward to improve the sector. Now, in terms of community and engagement and empowerment, this is where we have been most active. And I'm going to leave this there for you a little while so you can see pin. You can see here, this is our res rep actually turning on the tap at one of the communities, one of the community catchment tanks that we rehabilitated in Northern Clarendon. This was in Richmond Park. Under the JCCP project, we rehabilitated catchment tanks, increased water supply, potable water supply by some in excess of 80,000 gallons. All of the infrastructure under the JCCP was complemented with training in the effects of climate change adaptation principles, etc., but also in the care and management and upkeep of the infrastructure in the interest of sustainability. We worked with two schools in Clarendon, but this is aside from the School Gardens project which we had, and we worked. It was wonderful. The Victoria Primary and the Richmond Park Primary, and we assisted them in expanding the school garden and in providing climate resilient irrigation systems. Now, in Cascade St. Anne, we worked and we provided 50 farmers with on-farm rainwater harvesting and drip irrigation systems. And I think my good friend Derval is going to tell you a little bit about that. Next one, please. With some of the results of the JCCP, we worked with the Jamaica 4-H, and we established 70 water harvesting and irrigation systems across the island. And I say institutions of learning because it started out as a school garden program, but we were able to include even correctional facilities. And the picture at the bottom there is some of us, including the former Minister of Agriculture at the St. Catherine prison. As you can see from what I have there, it impacted directly and indirectly quite a number of persons, mainly youngsters. And the training in climate smart agriculture, there was increased additional land. Through this program, we had the children at school got so interested in the gardens. It was really commendable. And quite a number of them used the experience at the school gardens as part of their school-based assessment. And again, my friend and colleague, Villette, Kelly Bennett of the 4-H will tell you more about that. Next, please. Under the Human Security Project, it is still ongoing. It is scheduled to end in December this year. So far, we have rehabilitated two water harvesting systems for potable water, again in Northern Clarendon. And you can see some signs there at the top. And at the bottom, you see our mayor was just referring to the sanitation aspect is something that I think we are going to be expanding on some more. We have started with the rehabilitation and expansion of water harvesting systems for schools, for sanitation in schools. And so far, we have been able to do 4 schools in Northern Clarendon. And this is particularly important, especially under COVID. So I think we're likely to be doing more of this. At another level, we have established so far, and again, it's scheduled to increase in Northern Clarendon, 20 on-farm water management systems, and all of the infrastructure is complemented with training in sustainable agriculture. And this particular exercise, is one of the partnerships with our FAO RADA people, and we gather that the farmers, there was collaboration, which is what the human security approach is all about. And farmers work to help each other to get the systems in place, to get the systems functional. And we understand that not only have they been experiencing increased yield so far, but they've even been able to access niche markets that were not previously open to them. So even though the project is not finished, we're already seeing some really very positive benefits. Through our implementing partner, UNDP, we have established a digital platform, and I encourage you to have a look at this platform. It's called hellorain.org or Hello Water. And this looks at all aspects. It's a training tool. It looks at all aspects of rainwater harvesting. So again, please have a look. Very useful information. At the moment, we are in the progress of rehabilitation, and this is our partnership, mainly PAHO and UNDP are working to rehabilitate at least 4, probably more, health centers in both West Kingston and Northern Clarendon. And here we'll be incorporating technologies for efficient water and energy use. And again, with COVID, we can't emphasize just how important this is. Now, I am going to close because we have panelists here who can give you lots of information and all kind of technical details, but I just want to close by highlighting some of the factors which we consider critical to the success. First and foremost, extensive community engagement from the idea to the completion stage. This fosters ownership and it contributes to sustainability of project outcomes. We need an organized, no matter how small the activity is, we need an organized, transparent project management structure, including a vigorous system for financial management and accountability. Choice of local partners with experience and similar objectives. And we were lucky. We worked with people like the Jamaica 4-H, we worked with the Clarendon the Clarendon PDC and the associated Clarendon Municipal Corporation, quite a number of agencies, and they had similar priorities, and we just merged our efforts, and this is what it's all about, because once the project has ended, you need to know that you are leaving the project in good hands. So the partnership, especially with government and quasi and community-based organizations, cannot be overemphasized. Detailed planning and preparations. Again, we must focus on it. Just so you will have ideas, we'll put it down, and you have to plan, or you'll find that you don't finish, you lose focus. And of course, constant monitoring, whether you can, nowadays, even if you can't visit, we have all of these virtual tools that will allow you to connect with your people in the field. So with that, I would like to thank you for your attention. And I gather that this is an African proverb, but what a beautiful lady. And she is speaking some very, very wise truths. Once you carry your own water, you will know the value of every drop. Thank you very much, everybody, and happy World Water Day.
Thank you so much, Hyacinth. Thank you.
No, that was Eltha.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Eltha. I just wanted to do a quick recap of some of the key success factors that you mentioned. You mentioned community engagement, because clearly they know a lot more than we do. They live the issues every day. They know what is happening, and they can give you a lot of good advice. You spoke about transparency. You spoke about good governance. You spoke about partnerships with like-minded institutions that are experienced in the area. You spoke about planning, and you spoke about constant monitoring. We want to thank you. That was Eltha Brown. She's National Coordinator of the UNGOJ Human Security Trust Fund Joint Program that is doing a lot of good work in Clarendon in particular, and especially with respect to water security, doing great work in ensuring that farmers and households have access to potable water. Thank you so much, Eltha. We're now joined by Miss Jamaica with the flag in the background, Hyacinth Douglas. Hyacinth, how are you doing today?
Good, Jillian. Thank you so much. You know, this is just my excitement.
Hyacinth is the National Coordinator for the Global Environment Facility Small Grants Program, which is a program implemented globally by the United Nations Development Program. As many of you may be aware, Jeff SGP has given millions of dollars in grants to community level enterprises and groups. And water harvesting is one of the key areas that they are involved in. But Hyacinth, before you start, we're going to ask you to put a pause there, and we want to share a clip from a video that was produced by Jamaica 4-H that features one of our panelists, Derval, who will speak to what water harvesting under the JCCP program, previously managed by Eltha, has done for him as a farmer. So I'm going to ask Nick to share that.
President of the Cascade Farmers Association, Derval McLean, noted that before the project's intervention, life was extremely difficult for farmers accessing water.
It was very difficult because we would have to journey by using donkeys, and even family members have to assist us in that.
Additionally, yields in crop production have increased. Crops such as cabbage have seen significant growth while reducing the time for reaping.
It has helped us in a significant way, where it has helped to improve and meet our yield in crop. Where first time, for example, cabbage normally takes like 70 to 90 days before reaping, harvesting. And now with the drip irrigation system, we are looking at about 55 to 60 days. So it has helped us significantly.
Thank you so much for that clip, Nick. And we're going to now ask Hyacinth to rejoin us. and to do her presentation. Go ahead, Hyacinth.
Thank you so much, Jillian. And to be honest with you, I really don't have a presentation because our beneficiaries are, are there, and I think they are the best one to tell, you know, the stories, because what we did was just to fund them and create an environment for partnerships and so. So good afternoon, everybody. You know, in the essence of time, I'm going to hold on to all protocols observed. And I just want to wish everybody a World Water Day. You know, it's good to be here. So with this year's theme, valuing water, and this is what is going to come out from these voices and beneficiaries, consider the most common and important elements on the earth. Many rural communities in Jamaica do not have access to clean water. Hence, water harvesting is seen as the ideal sustainable way for the future. The UNDP implemented Jeff Small Grants program has a rich portfolio of water harvesting projects across the island, and we will continue to do so once funding is available. But today, we will share with you one of the most impactful one, which was implemented in the Pleasant Valley community in Clarendon. And this is what everybody's talking about. So if most of you were observing, it started from the top. You know, the presentations were coming from the top and they end up right down to the source. Thank God, the community. This hybrid system has demonstrated the community's drive to value water through harvesting, which is an effective way to conserve the source. Also, it is free and environmentally friendly. I will not go into details as the beneficiaries themselves will share with you some of the benefits and impact they have been having. But let me first say, one of the questions that people have been asking us, what are the advantages, benefits of rainwater harvesting? Seriously, a lot of persons saying no, they have pipe water. What we need to harvest water for? Well, let me tell you. Firstly, it helps to bring down your water bills. Secondly, you have an alternative source of water supply during water crisis. Oh, many of us have been going through that in Kingston. And thirdly, it helps you maintain your farms and gardens. 4-H is going to tell you that. So with that said, if you're looking for rainwater harvesting model for your school or community, please contact us. And you can visit our website at sgp.undp.org. And I think our program assistant will drop that in the chat for you. Thank you so much and enjoy World Water Day.
Thank you so much, Hyacinth, for that brief but very powerful presentation in which we learned again, it's surfacing again the importance of community engagement. Communities have been at the forefront of a lot of the water harvesting efforts, and they're the ones who help to sustain and maintain the systems after all when the project ends. You also spoke very clearly about some of the benefits, for example, impact on water bills and alternative supply in drought, which is being, of course, caused a lot in Jamaica by climate change. So we appreciate that presentation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go into our fun fact 2 before we start our panel. And this fact is widely known, but we just wanted to throw it out there that the government of Jamaica is working to achieve 100% access to safe drinking water for all Jamaicans by 2030. Thank you so much for that, Nikisha. And now, before we go to our panel, we have another testimonial that will speak to the critical success factors for water harvesting. We're going to be sharing a video of Eureka Douglas, who is a part of the Clarendon Parish Development Benevolent Society. We had done an interview with her last year as part of World Humanitarian Day, and we found some very interesting things that she had to say about getting involved in water harvesting in Clarendon and what made it work. So we're going to share that now.
into the communities and we basically asked them, what is it that you need? What are some of the issues that you're having in the communities? Which is the most important issue? We prioritize those issues and we started to address the issues that were identified by the communities. So when we looked at some of the communities north of Clarendon and north of the parish capital, Maypen, most of those communities had water challenges. They did not have access to potable water. So we started with one community, one pilot community called Pleasant Valley, and the community members there said, what we need is water to just to survive, just to ensure that we're able to pursue our livelihoods, ensure that our children got to school, ensure that they were able to address their domestic issues, that they were able to improve their economic situation. So we looked at water issues, and that's when we approached Jeff SGP. And we, when we started, we got the parish council, what is now called the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, and they looked at the project. There was an old tank, community tank they called it, that was in the community. And they said, let us see if we can rehabilitate that tank so that community members can have access to water, especially during the prolonged droughts that we tend to have every year. When we started, persons were very defiant. They were saying, oh, it could work, that an old time something, you know, we should be focusing on centralized water systems and so on. But we got it done. And what has happened is that we have been able to replicate that project. It was very successful. We were able to provide nearly 100,000 gallons of water to 1,500 people. And we were able to do that with renewable energy, which was quite new to the community and to the parish, so that they were not using excess energy in those communities. And we replicated that in several communities. We replicated it in the Moko area, especially with the Lennon High School, Richmond Park, Victoria, and we were able to carry on with different UNDP projects and programs. So I'll just mention a few of them. The Japan Caribbean Climate Change Program, we were able to do about 60,000 gallons, or maybe about 70,000 gallons of water. And of course, this was using the age-old concept of water harvesting your rainwater and utilize it. And what we encouraged persons to do was to use renewable energy, so that we were, using climate change adaptation, mitigation, and adaptation measures that could benefit them. One of the things that we also did with that is that we included the school communities in each of these communities. So we got the children involved, because what we think is that if we get the children involved, then it will create a multiplier effect. And they will go home and begin to use the technologies that have been introduced to them. So yes, in a nutshell, that's how we have been able to transform the lives of community members, addressing basic needs like water security and taking it from there to look at different issues.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Eureka in absence for that contribution. And some of the key things that leapt out to us is the use of renewable energy as part of a climate change adaptation and mitigation approach to providing water to underserved communities. And also the inclusion of the school communities, getting the children involved so that it has a multiplier effect on households. And we'll hear a little bit more of that from Kelly Bennett of the Jamaica Forage Foundation, who is here with us on the panel. So we thank you, Rika, for that. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I had mentioned them earlier prematurely, but now truly we are on to our interview segment that focuses on our panel. And I'm now going to invite our panel, Derville McLean, President of the Cascade Farmers Association, Everton Robinson from FAO RADA, Villette Kelly Bennett, Jamaica 4-H, and Melverine McPherson from Clarendon Municipal Corporation to start their videos so that we can do our short, snappy interview segment to learn a little bit more about what they did, how they did it, and what worked for them. Ladies and gentlemen, please start your videos. Villette, please start your video. Q. Everton. Asking you to start your video. Great. And here is our esteemed panel. Thank you and welcome to our World Water Day showcase. We're going to first segue from the video that was just presented on Eureka Douglas. And I'm going to start with Derval. Derval, you are president of the Cascade Farmers Association. As a farmer, spell out for us, what was the situation facing farmers before the water harvesting infrastructure? Paint us a picture so we know exactly what was happening.
Okay, then thank you very much for having me. I want to say greetings to my worship, worship Mayor Winston Maraj and our panelists. Well, before Cascade receives its water from small streams where we have communities would face difficult times, especially in the drought times. So we found that we would lose a lot of money pertaining to the lack of sufficient water and all that. I sit here as a farmer who understands traveling for 15 kilometers and depends on how dry the time it is. We travel up to 25 kilometers to fetch water. And we have the ability and influence to influence our farmers, parents, and young people to adopt environmental friendly activities.
So you had to trek 25 kilometers for water. So what was the level of yield like on crops before? How did you manage?
Well, in the dry time pertaining to climate change, we can't predict the time again. So when in dry time, we have to rotate crops. And when we get in season, then you find out that we plant mostly catch crops, vegetables, and it will be a lot on the market, you know. And before that, another thing that I should mention is that the Damaria Pond is our main source of water in Cascade and surrounding communities. And many people rely on it for domestic use. And when I mention domestic use, I mean for washing, drinking, bathing, personal hygiene, and most of all, and the farming, to do farming activities. And I think this pond, it is my history of that pond is that it never dried before, it has no bottom, and it is on top of the hill of Cascade. It's very interesting, and I really would like, you know, so the agencies are to take a look at that and see how best they can help us with that pond.
What kind of water infrastructure was installed in Cascade? I know that the JCCP program, the Japan Caribbean Climate Change Partnership, had helped out 50 farmers, I believe,
Yes.
In 2019, 2020. Just describe for us what was installed.
Okay, approximately 50 farmers got water harvesting system, storage, and irrigation system installed and operational in Cascade community, which increased our water storage by over 50,000 gallons. the irrigation system, what it does is it reduces our water usage significantly in the field. And the 1,000-gallon tanks, it stops us from traveling 15 kilometers to 25 kilometers for water. We also got a shed, where the shed we can use it to store our farm produce, and we can shelter. We stay longer on the farm knowing that we have a shed. Now, we used to travel distance to get drinking water. We have a tank now where we store our drinking water. So, yeah.
And how has it helped you as a farmer? Speak on behalf of your farming colleagues and tell us what has been the impact of the water harvesting systems on your farms and on your yield?
Well, how it helped us. One, it increased production of crop. Two, it increased yield. Three, it reduced loss as a result of drought. Four, training and knowledge sharing was improved, which improved awareness and impacts the climate change and disaster risk management in agriculture. And for that to say, on behalf of the farmers, which I was told, they were saying to me I should thank the government for this project, which is a wonderful project. UNDP team, the RADA team, the JCCP team, Jamaica Caribbean Climate Change Program, the Member of Parliament, Xavier Main, Cascade Farmers, and all of who that have participated in this to make it work.
Thank you so much, Derval. I'm going to bring in Everton Robinson now of the FAO. Everton, welcome once again to the World Water Day panel. Is your mic on? Are you muted? Can we hear you?
Oh, thank you for having me, Denise.
Yes, yeah, man, it's good to have you. You heard what Derval said, farmers having to travel 25 kilometers for water. And as a result now, because of those water harvesting systems, they are reducing loss of crops, their crop yields have gone up. And I would imagine that this is a situation that farming communities across Jamaica. What does your research tell us about the extent of water inaccessibility in Jamaica and the negative impacts of this low water access for farming communities like Cascade?
Great. Thank you for your question, Denise. But first, let me greet the UNDP resident representative, Denise Antonio, His Worship Winston Maraj, and my fellow panelists. So based on the research, essentially, agriculture accounts for about 70% of global fresh water use. And FAO forecasts that by the year 2050, the requirement for water will be greater for food production. Now, as it stands, Jamaica continues to experience unpredictable weather conditions and erratic climatic conditions. And to that extent, we are experiencing longer dry spells and shorter, more intense rainfalls, sometimes resulting in flooding. Now, what that means, therefore, is really to fix this situation. Sometimes what it requires is a combination of or an integrated approach. And so rainwater harvesting is one of the many approaches, though not a very new technology, but it is one that we recognize that has its relevance even today. And so the challenges that farmers experience are varying, but there is hope, because once it is that you are able to adopt the technology, it suits well for both agriculture as well as domestic.
Got you. Describe the irrigation system that was installed under the FAO RADA projects, and especially through the Human Security Joined Up program. And why are you recommending this particular system?
All right. So the system essentially is a rainwater harvesting shed and drip irrigation system. This started as far back as about 2017, thereabout, when we started an experiment over in South St. Elizabeth with some UE students. The on-farm water management of RADA was instrumental in that exercise. Immediately thereafter, the FAO came on board, having recognized the impact that the innovation could have, and expanded it to serve 35 farmers in same South St. Elizabeth. The system essentially entails a rainwater harvesting shed. In total surface area, we're talking about maybe 100 square feet. It is on stilts or wooden posts and covered by zinc sheeting. Attached to that is a guttering mechanism that collects and conveys the water to an adjoining plastic water storage tank, which is mounted, give and take, depending on the terrain, maybe about 1 meter high, to facilitate a gravity drip irrigation system, which is connected to that system. Importantly to note is that the systems, as we progressed, we were able to do constant upgrading of the systems. And so where in the St. Elizabeth one didn't have some features, under the UN Human Security Joint Program, those systems in Mount Airy, we integrated a fertigation system as well as a water metering device so that farmers could measure the amount of water and also to use the water more efficiently.
Okay. Hearing a lot of very interesting things. I was reminded the other day that technology is not necessarily something that is high tech, but that is a solution to a challenge and a problem. And some of the things that you've described to me are not necessarily high tech, but they're effective in gathering the water and placing the water exactly where it is needed for the benefit of our underserved communities. Thank you so much. But we're going to get back to you, but I want to jump first to Villette. Kelly Bennett. And I want to ask you, how is 4-H seeking to expand access to water in Jamaica? We know that we have been involved with you through our Jeff SGP and other projects, but I know you have a wider, broader ambit with respect to water access. So could you please tell us how you go about doing that? Go ahead, Villette.
Hi, Jillian. I'm not hearing you.
Can you turn off your video then, please?
You got my key now?
Hold on. My video is on now, but I'm just not hearing.
Yeah, what you'll have to do then is turn off your video and let's see if that makes a difference. All right. Can you speak now? Speak now, let's hear. Nothing?
Good afternoon, everyone. Could you confirm, Jillian, if you're hearing me, please?
Yes, we are hearing you. Please go ahead.
All right, great. Thanks for having me, Villette Kelly Bennett from the Jamaica 4-H Clubs and the 4-H Foundation. It is a pleasure, Jillian, that you have invited us to be on this panelist, and I greet our mayor and our UNDP representative and other members of the panelists, and of course we thank all that has joined in. The Jamaica 4-H Clubs as one of our main initiative in training, providing training to our youth in the agricultural sector. And as we seek to fulfill the mandate of the Ministry of Agriculture in increasing agricultural production, productivity, and food security, we continue to partner with international development partners as the UNDP, the Japan Caribbean Climate Change Program, the Jeff Small Grants Program, as well as our ministries or agencies of government in Jamaica and other local or national development partners. We too are happy that we're able to celebrate Water Day with you, and from a global perspective. We recognize, of course, that water is life. And from a domestic perspective, we can't survive without water. And similarly, from a production perspective or agricultural sector, certainly cannot achieve its productivity objective without having access to water. And so while we seek to support our youth farmers or young persons in getting excited and getting involved in agriculture, we, from a national perspective, recognize the challenge that agriculture has with respect to climate change and access to water. And so what we continue to do is to seek support from our partners to empower our young persons and, of course, to help to increase the productivity of the agricultural sector. So through the Japan Caribbean Climate Change Project, along with the UNDP Jeff Small Grants Program, we supported, or we have a number of initiatives that some are current and some have passed, but they have had a multiple impact. Both Eltha, Derval, Hyacinth mentioned some before. One of our major impact project through the Japan Caribbean Climate Change Project, we were able to support 70 schools and institutions, and Eltha pointed out that institutions included correction facilities. And so through this project, these 70 schools, institutions benefited from 70,000 gallons of water, each receiving 1,000 gallons of water, and drip irrigation that covers approximately 12.5 acres amongst the 70 beneficiaries. Similarly, the Cascade Project, whereby 50 farmers in a very rural setting, and not just a rural setting, but a community that contributes significantly to the production of agricultural produce, particularly vegetables in Jamaica. They were also able to benefit from approximately 50,000 gallons of water. Again, each farmer receiving a 1/4 acre drip irrigation system. And before I continue on the other projects, let me just expound a little. So the school garden initiative that the 4-H clubs lead, we have recognized that one, in order to change, to transform the agricultural sector, that we must involve our young persons. And we start as early as 5 years old. And this is critical because I think Hyacinth or someone would have mentioned before that when we start with the younger persons, then immediately a behavioral change will result. And from behavioral change, then cultural. And so we have recognized that water harvesting plays a critical role in maintaining or ensuring that water is available. And from a country's perspective, the average householder, and I'll say farmer as well, does some level of water harvesting in their communities or in their homes.
Villette, before you go further, we just wanted to pause here and ask you to just go back a little bit to revisit the JCCP, the Japan Caribbean Climate Change Partnership, and tell us what is some of the impact been on the schools, and especially school gardens and their school feeding programs.
All right, thank you, Gillian. So with respect to our school gardens, major impact would have realized increased production. In most instances, the schools are highly dependent on rain-fed agriculture. So if the rain doesn't fall, there's no water. And what we have done through the project is to provide them with water harvesting through tanks.
We realize that, Villette, we realize that, and we've gone over that. What we're looking for now, what have the schools been saying about the impact of the water systems on their schools and their farms and their school feeding program? Just want, even if you have anecdotes to share with us.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Jillian, for clarity. So as the major areas of impact would have been increase in production. So they're now able to produce consistently, more consistently, their school feeding program from the farms that they operate. They utilize these inputs in their school feeding program, vegetables, chicken, etc. One other key factor is that through the care program. So for example, now COVID has affected the opening of some schools, but they continue to maintain their farms. And what they do is to provide the produce from their farms to students, to householders, so at least the students can still have access to meal as they join classes online. What we have also recognized is that having the tanks, they're now able to maintain they're able to maintain water. And similarly, from a training perspective, persons are now able to see what ways they can harvest water, how they can implement conservation method, as well as would have introduced them to drip irrigation system, which is a very efficient way of conserving water. And so having seen this at school, they're now able to take it home to their family and expose them to the knowledge. We would have also provided them with a number of training sessions. And so through the training, they also would have gained knowledge, which can impact their whole behavioral response to water harvesting. And
thank you so much, Villette. Yes, thank you. What we're going to do now is we're going to bring in Mel Marine from McPherson from the Clarendon Municipal Corporation to also tell us what were some of the critical success factors in the partnership with Jeff SGP and JCCP in bringing water to Pleasant Valley. But before you do that too, Mel Marine, what has, since we're on the message of impact, what have you been noticing about the impact of water harvesting systems on households' health and food throughout the Clarendon Parish?
Thank you, Jillian. Afternoon to everyone who is online. Well, I must say that how Clarendon operates is that we are research driven. And so we would have had our baseline information as to what are the effects in our parish currently. And we have a local sustainable development plan, which guides our whatever decisions we make or the strategies that we implement. Now, what we would have realized is that a number of our rural communities are without water, as the mayor would have informed earlier. But we have opted to go into these communities to make a difference. And I think these partnerships were very, very critical. Now, as it relates to the critical success factors, working with JCCP and GFSGP in Pleasant Valley, is that community engagement is crucial. It is important to talk to the persons which you intend to serve. And we can't overemphasize community engagement enough. What is also important is communication and collaboration. You need the information to be flowing. So you need to know what is working, what is happening, what is it that we need to do better. And that goes into monitoring and evaluation. I think Eltha spoke about it earlier, that consistent monitoring is important because you are doing things that are new. And so it is important to know if it is that it's working, where is it that you need to be tweaking stuff. So I think the whole communication and the monitoring was also critical to the success of that project in Pleasant Valley. Another critical success factor was also the structure that was in place. I think Eltha spoke to it, and I think also Hyacinth spoke to the structures that were in place for this project. It was implemented by the Clarendon Parish Development Committee Benevolent Society, which we were a partner to this project. We do everything. This is Clarendon. We believe in collaboration and partnerships. And I think that is one of our major success factors in Clarendon, and especially for this particular project, because the PDC has a very solid structure, a solid project management structure in place, which made it a whole lot easier for the Clarendon Municipal Corporation to come in and to give our support to this project and the community. So as I said, community engagement, just finding out what the community wants, what are the needs, what are the issues. Collaborations and partnerships are also critical success factors. The project management structure that is in place, consistent monitoring and communication between all parties that are involved. So those are the critical success factors for the successful implementation of that project in Pleasant Valley.
Wonderful. You heard what Durban had to say and what Villette had to say about some of that impact. And they were speaking a lot to school farms and to general farms. Well, what have you been hearing, for example, from households about the impact of these water supply systems in other ways, apart from farming?
Well, what I can tell you is that the mayor would have alluded to it earlier, that Clarendon Municipal Corporation, we truck approximately 1,600 truckloads of water monthly to residents in these areas. And so one of the impact is that even though we truck this amount of water, community persons still have to purchase water because we are unable to give them all the water that they would require. So they still have to be purchasing water. So I think that is one of the impact, is that it would have reduced the amount of money that they would have to spend on water bills. I think another impact is on the whole idea of the health sector and diseases. You know that without sufficient water, you run the risk of a breakout of particular diseases. Given now that we're in this COVID-19, and you know we have to observe these sanitation protocols. We expect persons to be using more water because they're expected to be washing more often, to be cleaning more often. So I think the fact that we have these projects in place is also is one of the major impacts of this of these projects that have been implemented. So it's bolstering the food security, as others would have said, but it's also improved health practices in these communities. It's also about enhancing equality in these communities, because we now see our women who play greater roles in securing water for the households as they would not have done in previous times. So it's a multiple effect. The impact has been great. As I said, it reduces the cost that is associated with purchasing water. It's also increasing livelihoods, because now they are able to irrigate their crops. So it's a multiple effect, but I think the impact has been great overall, and we're looking forward to future impact similarly in other areas.
Yes, we have spoken with quite a number of persons in some of these Clarendon communities. I remember one lady, she runs a shop and she also had a chicken business, and she told us she had to spend $20,000 for each truckload of water. And since she received the water harvesting system, that amount of money, as a matter of fact, it decimated her chicken business when she could not access the water, because she had to purchase, water at each point in time for $20,000. So it made a huge difference to her. So now that we're talking about all of this impact, and I think we have made the point that it makes a difference in the lives of farmers and helps to boost food security and health and household standards of living, we want to talk a little bit now about how do we get other persons to purchase water harvesting or to access water harvesting systems. So we want you all to walk us through some of these things. So what are some of the key tips that you have to share with those seeking to go the road of water harvesting?
The first thing I would want to say is that it's very, very good that you or that individual or that group is contemplating rainwater harvesting or water harvesting for that matter, because as Ayasin shared earlier, there are a number of advantages to harvesting water. But the first thing that is important is a research. It is important to have the information. It's important to have the data. I don't remember which one of the panelists spoke earlier about knowing if it is that we're going to be getting sufficient rainfall, when our dry seasons and stuff like that. So I think research is very, very important, not only in terms of when it is that we're going to be thinking if rain is going to fall, because we can't know, but it's also important into the kinds of systems that are best for a particular area. So I think research is actually crucial when you're thinking about water harvesting. I think the other thing that is important is partnerships, because no one entity locally, as we know it, has all the resources in-house to undertake successfully water harvesting systems. So I think partnerships are important. It is important to develop these key partnerships, and community engagement. You cannot have a successful project without dialogue and ensuring that everybody understands the roles that must be taken on by a particular agency or individual.
Tell us a little bit about how CMC can help.
What is it that the Municipal Corporation can do? We are happy to assist anyone, any agency that is looking to go into rainwater harvesting, because it also helps us with our own mandate of bringing water to the residents across the parish. But we offer technical assistance. We have been doing it over the years, and we are willing to continue doing providing technical assistance. We have a unit at the Municipal Corporation, which is our minor water supply unit, that goes out and give that kind of assistance, but not only the technical assistance, meaning monitoring of your project to make sure that things are being done according to the standards, but we also give assistance in the sense of the sustainability of these projects. What we've done over the years with a number of these projects that we've partnered on is that as soon as these projects have been completed, in the process, we would have been working with a water management committee, because it is important to have a sustainable group that's going to, a group that's going to be in place to ensure that we have the sustainability of the project. But we also have put in place or hired what we call chlorinators or tank keepers to assist these committees that are set up, because we understand that it is important when we talk about water harvesting, it's safe water for the use of our residents. And so we invest in tank keepers. So we will continue as best as we can to assist in those areas. But we also give support to groups or agencies that want to develop their water quality management plans. We give that assistance. If you want to develop a disaster risk management plan, we also give assistance in that area. As well as sustainable development plans. Now, these are smaller, even though we have a Clarendon local sustainable development plan, oftentimes smaller areas want to have their own plans. And so we offer that guidance and give that support. So in any way at all, anyone is thinking about going into water harvesting, the Clarendon Municipal Corporation is here to assist in any way. Just reach out to us.
Okay, so that was a mouthful. You have a minor water supply unit. No, I'm surprised. I really did not know this. So if you want to get into water harvesting, you should contact, if you're from the parish of Clarendon. I would assume that this is so for other municipal corporations, that they have similar units, so that you can contact your minor water supply unit, and you have a cadre of tank keepers who help to keep tanks clean for the purposes of ensuring safe drinking water. And that you also give help in establishing local sustainable development plans. And in general, all needs with respect to securing water for potable use. Wonderful. Villette Kelly-Bennett, I just want to move over to you and to ask you about what it is, how it is that you help as 4-H. What are some of the resources that Jamaica 4-H has to share with those seeking to access water for domestic, communal, and farming purposes? Just your core services.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Jillian. One of our core focus, of course, we provide training exposure. With the training, the intent is to change behavior and culture, as I said before. So what Jamaica 4-H Club's core function will be is to continue to partner with both local and international agencies as well as government to expose our young persons. Sorry, are you hearing me, Jillian?
We are, yes.
Okay,
we
great. To expose our young persons to methods of how they can harvest and conserve water. I was happy as well with Melbourne. I didn't actually know that they have such a service. And so partnership is one of our key areas. And as we continue to support our young farmers, as well as our youth, to expose them through training in water harvesting and conservation, of course, we'll continue to partner with persons or organizations such as the municipal corporation, given their service. But outside of that, what we also seek to do is to identify continuously new approaches, new technologies, or how existing technologies can be adopted. And so, for example, we continue to encourage as well as to provide information and training to our farmers, our youth, to irrigation, sprinklers, mulching, whatever mini dams, whatever systems that can be utilized in their space to help them to harvest water more or to conserve on water. So those are some of our key areas that we'll continue to do as we support increasing access to water as well as conserving.
Thank you so much, Villette. So just to recap, you do a lot of training, and the training is to introduce young people, especially to water harvesting methodologies and also to the new technologies that are coming in for efficient use of these water supply systems. Everton, I want to bring you back in. Everton Robinson of FAO RADA. We're talking about advice now, giving advice to a lot of our attendees online. What kind of advice would you have for communities and farmers looking to install water harvesting and irrigation systems? Focus on some of the common pitfalls that they can avoid and where they can go for help if necessary.
Okay, so the first advice I would give is that you consult RADA, which is the extension arm of the Ministry of Agriculture. And RADA has a on-farm water management unit, and they can provide you with technical guidance. Secondly, I would suggest that you also be guided by research. Whatever irrigation solutions we recommend to farmers are guided by research. When it comes on to larger type systems, such as rainwater harvesting systems, we consult always with the Met Services of Jamaica, and they provide us with as much as 30-year rainfall data for us to make a decision on the most suitable or appropriate type of irrigation systems. We would also recommend that the type of system you decide on is really oftentimes dependent on your personal situation. The type of systems are determined, one, by your space, and two, by the usage, what it is that you wish to venture in. So for example, if it is rainwater harvesting for domestic use, it may range from just setting a gutter to a water storage tank. We always advise that water storage tanks that are elevated, the base must be broader than the tank to prevent it from toppling over and becoming a hazard. And also we recommend that the tank bases be reinforced. A pound of water is about 8 to 10 pounds. So water is quite heavy. We would also advise that we noticed having the opportunity of working with farmers. and also delivering on some of the FAO initiatives where innovation is concerned. I noticed that many farmers embark on rainwater harvesting systems, but they sometimes require a little guide. So for example, we always say that if by any means possible, rainwater in a tank that remains stagnant will harbor mosquito. And so there are ways to get around that, whether depending on the use of the water, you may pour a little tip of oil in the water, or it may be that you put some of those little fish from the river, those little, we oftentimes call them in Jamaica, a tiki-tiki, or the goopy fish, to eat the mosquito larvae. So you also have to be mindful of mosquito and be conscious of the health implications in not treating your water well. Another common practice that we recognize that some farmers embark on and householders is the usage of totes. These are the white kind of square containers that has a kind of slightly metal grill around it. And what happens, because it is clear, over time it absorbs the sunlight, and by virtue of such, algae grows. So we always recommend that to overcome that you paint it black, right? Be very, very careful of open systems, open water harvesting or rainwater harvesting storage facilities, whether it ranges from communal or an individual barbecue tank with a tank system storage facility at home. We always recommend that it be properly fenced, and also those that are communal, that serves farmers or out in the rural areas in the open. We strongly recommend that proper signage be put up, right, to discourage persons from swimming. We also ask that it be properly fenced to also deter persons from getting in or falling in, as well as keeping animals out. Be mindful of the fact that the water harvesting systems may vary in type and size and design, but especially be super careful with systems that are lined. So these are the lined reservoirs, because the plastic that line it oftentimes is very slippery, and sometimes persons incidentally not understanding the nature of this material, may fall in. The same applies to animals. So essentially, always consult your RADA, and this is where, as it relates to irrigation, because RADA deals with agricultural related activities. And so I suspect that the rural water, the municipal corporation, or the NWC would be the ones to deal with domestic water. Notwithstanding, we recognize that with the many limitations in some of the rural parts, the water harvesting is the main source that runs homes. And so also I recommend strongly that you take into consideration that we are not having the pristine environmental conditions of past years. So treating of your water, whether it is by boiling, or if it is that you wish to use a bleach or chlorine, be very informed and take the necessary precautions to stay safe.
Wow, thank you so much, Everton. That is just a rich layer of advice on what to do and what to look out for when you are installing your water supply systems. I wanted to give the last word to Derval. Derval, I'm going to ask you to start your video once again. Derval McLean, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, so now that you've used the water harvesting systems, We wanted you to tell our attendees, to tell Jamaica, would you recommend this for other underserved communities? And what advice do you have as a farmer who has benefited?
Could you repeat that for me, please?
I'm getting a feedback from you. Maybe you need to mute that. So you have benefited from the water harvesting systems, you and your farmer colleagues. Would you recommend this for other underserved communities? And what advice do you have for them? Last word to you on the panel.
Okay, so yes, I would recommend it for other communities, because there are large farming communities around, like you have communities like Battersea, January, Coffridge, Hags Run, Francal, Mopera, Clarksville, just to name a few, you know, large farming communities. And I really want to see these communities to highlight more in farming. And without the proper water harvesting, then when it comes to drought time, then we're going to have a problem, you know. And pertaining to those who already got the water harvesting system, my advice to them is to protect it. And many of our farmers call it the gold, you know, because, you know, you get a drip irrigation system, 1,000-gallon tank shed, and it's very, very good, you know, because a lot of farmers normally build a thing they call hut, if you know what, hut, you know. So that's where they shelter and store their produce and their farm equipment, you know. And, you know, we have to just continue grow and continue feeding our beautiful island, Jamaica. Be agri-smart, store more rainwater, better optimize water, install better water system, as I am doing now, you know, and I encourage others to do. And I encourage a lot of young people, which I was taught by 4-H. So I share the knowledge with the younger people around. And as Mr. Robinson mentioned, if we do have any problems, we should mention it to RADA, you know. So as before, you know, just like human body cannot survive without water, that's how the earth cannot survive without water either. And, you know, plants need water to survive.
Wonderful. Thank you. What we're going to do, we're going to wrap up. Thank you so much, panelists. Thank you once again. I'm hearing a feedback. I don't know what's happening. But thanks once again to Darvell McLean, President of the Cascade Farmers Association, Everton Robinson, FAO RADA, Villette Kelly Bennett, Jamaica 4-H, and Melverine McPherson from Clarendon Municipal Corporation. Darvell, we're going to run a clip of one of your colleague farmers from Cascade. Her name is Samantha. Just a less than 1 minute clip, and we're going to ask Nick to do that. Nick, we're going to ask you to save the UNDP water clip for until after the Q&A. So we're going to run Samantha's clip now, just to wrap up a lot of what has been said. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
50 farmers, 15 were women, one of whom is Samantha Thompson, also a member of the Cascade Farmers Association. She, like the other farmers, have now been empowered with new and transferable climate-smart agricultural skills.
The training was wonderful. I learned a lot that I never experienced for 12 years from I'm doing farming. And to store water, I learned a lot about storing water, how to apply the dripping, how to use the water in dry time, and how to proceed the climate changing. I learned so much. I learned a different type of how to handling storing of water. And I went on to do the laying out of the dripping, and it was a wonderful. On my farm, I'm learning the new way, and it is working out good for me.
Like Derval, Samantha, who plants crops such as cabbage, Irish potato, and pak choy, no longer has to journey to and from the pond and is also getting better turnaround times on her crops.
I use it because when the dry is in, I use it because it balances the water from me just throwing it on the crop. It's helped me now to store it more, and it's working for me. I don't have to carry water from half mile or 1 mile anymore.
So much. Thank you so much, Nikisha, for playing that video. And we're now going to move straight into question and answer. We have a number of attendees online. We're going to ask you, if you have a question, to raise your hand and to indicate to us whether or not you want to, make a comment or to ask a question. We have a few questions online as well. So we're going to wait to see if we have any hands raised from our attendees online. And in the time being, while they gather their thoughts, we do have a question from our Facebook live feed. And it's to Derval. Are there any plans regarding the pond that you mentioned, Mr. McLean? I think this is a pond that a lot of farmers get their water from. So the question is, are there any other plans regarding the pond? I don't know if you can respond to that, Derval.
Yeah, pertaining to the pond, what I'm doing is advocating for the pond, advocating. So I would like the necessary agencies to come in and see how best they can help us and assist the surrounding communities to benefit from this pond. Because as I said before, it is a source of water that never dry. It has no bottom. It's very historic. So I really would like to see RAD and other entities to come in and check on this pond, see how best they can help the community, because they have communities like Lower Chillarney that are benefiting from this water source. And you have communities like Cascade and Franca that is just half mile or less than half mile from the pond, not benefiting from it. You have to be near the pond now to source water from the pond. So really would like to see some work pertaining to the water, the pond.
Okay, thank you. And we have a question, or Hyacinth maybe wants to make an intervention. Hyacinth, could you start your video, please, and make your intervention?
Oh, you stopped it, my video.
No, go ahead. No, I didn't. Go ahead.
Okay.
Start your video, please. Yes, go ahead, Hyacinth.
Yes, I just want to, very, very nice discussion, Gillian. And one of the things I just want to point out is the fact that based on from Denise's remarks in terms of the wide gap of access to water as when compared to the rural and the inner city. And I just want to implore everybody, don't just look at water harvesting as a rural community initiative. Let's all take the responsibility of doing probably a hybrid system at our homes. Take, for example, one of the benefits when you use NWC water in your toilets and so, have you noticed the lime? And you have to be getting these things to remove it, and it's so hard. With rainwater harvesting, you don't have that trouble, right? So let us reduce the pressure on the National Water Commission. Save bill, reduce the pressure. And when I look at one of the most bothering thing for me is when I pass somebody using the clean water from NWC, washing car, doing garden, and when you go into the community, you see they have into a pond, a dirty pond, drinking directly from the dirty pond because you can't have it run to their community for access. So let me just wrap up Gillian, by saying that under our program, we have demonstrated various methodologies, one directly from the source, as Derval mentioned about, which is one of the best things, because rain doesn't fall every day, but that source is there. That is community knowledge that we look at. How long has it been there with water? Never run dry. That's community knowledge. Right there, you can actually build a system and distribute it to the community. That's Culloden. That's another example of what we did. So these are the things. Let's help our country by doing our part. And so that we can have the ending of Denny's remarks that says Jamaica, live, raise, and family, and all of that stuff. Thank you so much. Very nice discussion, Juliana. I'm willing to come again.
We will have you back. Trust and believe. Thank you so much, Hyacinth. We have a question from one of our attendees, Sherwin Moore. Sherwin, you are using an older version of Zoom. So I'm going to have to promote you to a panelist so that you can ask your question. Can you on?
There we go. Hi, everyone.
Hi, go ahead.
This question is for Derval McLean. I was wondering if you have any plans on putting any standpipe in the community to serve the community with water, and if so, when will he start in that project?
Derval, please turn on back your video and come on in.
Yeah, I'm here. Very good question. Pertaining to what I've mentioned about the Tamaria Fund, I've shared such information with the Member of Parliament, and he's looking into it, and I passed the information on to Rada also to see what they can do, because this water is something that we really need. We really need it. It's very near for us not having it. So as I mentioned it to the Member of Parliament, and he's looking into it.
Okay, thank you so much, Derval. Are there any other questions? If there are not any other questions, we're gonna ask Nick to run one last video. We're gonna skip the last testimonial. And first of all, we want to thank Jamaica 4-H and Karen McCormack for the Cascade video from which we pulled a number of those clips. So we just want to make sure that we acknowledge that those clips, that video from which we took the clips was done by Jamaica 4-H. We're going to now just run a wrap-up video which speaks to UNDP's support to water harvesting. Thank you. Okay, and there be no other questions. We just want to thank everyone for joining us for our World Water Day live showcase. We took away a number of lessons learned. We learned about the importance of community engagement, of good governance, of the usage of renewable energy to further reduce bills. We learned about the value of water harvesting systems on food security, on health, and on income security, as well as on costs that are being incurred by farmers and householders in underserved communities. We took away a number of do's and don'ts and tips for those who have water security systems. We learned about units that are in place at RADA, at the Clarendon Municipal Corporation that can help you, and we urge you to reach out to them if you are interested in these systems. We thank you for joining us, and we urge you to follow UNDP Multi-Country Office in Jamaica on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Please remember, we are still in a pandemic, and we urge you to continue to follow all protocols. Remain physically distant while being socially connected. Wear your mask and sanitize, and always wash your hands with soap and water. Until next time, when we go live with another Help Series event, on behalf of the UNDP Multi-Country Office, we ask you to stay safe. Thank you so much.